Part 1 of our special investigation, The Ultimate Shutout by Chanel, Meghan Markle's worldwide banishment, released on February 11th, 2026, clocking in at 5,000 characters. At precisely 3:41 in the afternoon on February 7th, 2026, the Duchess approached. Decked out in a bespoke ivory cape and giant shades, she tried to breeze into the flagship boutique on North Rodeo Drive. She clearly anticipated the red carpet treatment, hushed tones, reverence, and a smooth walk straight into the VIP suite. Instead, she hit a wall. 2 security guards stood there, rock solid and silent, blocking the path to those famous double-C glass doors. Nobody called for a supervisor. No polite apologies were offered. One guard simply stated, "Our orders are to deny you entry." For someone once tipped as the fashion world's darling, this was a shocking fall from grace. It was hardly an accident, though. It wasn't some scheduling error. This was the outcome of a cold, hard, global decree finalized weeks prior at the Rue Cambon headquarters in Paris. A verdict so severe and permanent that insiders were calling it the nuclear button. Behind the glamour of haute couture, the House of Chanel had executed a strategic strike. Meghan Markle had been barred from every boutique, showroom, and gala across the globe. No shopping, no private viewings, no loaners, and definitely no press swag. In the language of Chanel, this went beyond a simple ban. It was a total erasure. Witnesses claim Meghan just stopped cold. She gripped her phone, freezing mid-message. Silence hung for a few seconds before the meltdown began. A worker watching from the Dior doorway next door reported that Meghan made a frantic call to Prince Harry. She started pacing back and forth like a nervous wreck. The source heard her, repeating, "I'm getting them fired. I promise you, they are done. Nobody embarrasses me." 20 minutes later, Harry pulled up, hood up, pale, jaw clenched. He exchanged a few words with the security lead, who just nodded, followed by a single head shake. 0 exceptions. Harry didn't push back. Witnesses say he turned to his wife, his voice low and flat, saying, "Let's just go, please." She refused to move. For another 12 minutes, that delay was plenty of time for 3 separate videos to hit the internet, including one clip where Meghan is clearly pointing at the doors, mouthing the phrase, "You don't know who I am." The fashion house ignored all requests for comment. They didn't need to speak. As one veteran of the industry put it, when Chanel goes silent, the silence is the message. Confidential files viewed by our team reveal that Chanel's banning procedure is almost never used. Internally, they call it retrade definitive final withdrawal. The policy targets those who breach ethical standards, pose a reputation risk through constant drama, or attempt to bully the creative or operational staff. In Meghan's case, she checked all 3 boxes. Sources confirmed the official ban was authorized in December 2025 by Bruno Pavlovsky, president of fashion, and Françoise Montanet, the former chair and current advisor to the Wertheimer family. Behind the curtain, the final verdict came down after a detailed report from the brand's integrity unit. The file contained not just Meghan's leaked emails, demanding co-creative credit for a limited-run handbag capsule in early 2023, but also statements from 4 ex-employees who painted her as manipulative, condescending, and obsessed with controlling the narrative. While the Rodeo Drive standoff made the news, the bridge actually burned 14 months prior during a private visit to the Paris atelier on December 5, 2024. Meghan had snagged an unofficial invite via an American stylist, claiming she wanted to discuss a cultural collaboration. Once she walked in, however, she allegedly billed herself as a creative partner from Archewell and demanded a peek at The métier d'art 2025 sketches. She wasn't there to learn. She was there to command. One staffer revealed she started issuing orders. She wanted a specific trim renamed after herself, critiqued the French stiffness, and asked how much power Karl Lagerfeld had wielded, implying she deserved that same level of authority. Sources say the atmosphere in the room froze instantly. She completely misread the room, a Chanel archivist noted. This house isn't a launch pad for personal branding. It is a temple, and temples do not bow to tourists. That stunt led to a closed-door meeting between Pavlovsky and Virginie Viard, the creative director at the time, where they labeled Meghan tactically uninsurable. Within days, she was scrubbed from the guest list for the upcoming show in Manchester. But the blacklist was just the start. Most people missed that this sparked a massive, coordinated step back from other luxury houses. The ban was merely the opening act. What flew under the radar was the synchronized freeze-out it set in motion throughout the highest levels of European fashion. Our deep dive revealed that Dior, Givenchy, Balmain, and Bottega Veneta all got back-channel notes from their communications directors labeling Meghan a Tier 3 liability. It is a tag you rarely see, reserved for celebrities with unpredictable public images and zero active endorsement deals. A high-level, public relations strategist at LVMH, who asked not to be named, laid it out for us. She is viewed as a chaos agent, not the type who inspires art, but the type who invites lawsuits. While the messy split between Meghan Markle and Chanel might have blown up in February 2026, insiders know the cracks started forming 2 years prior. Back in the pond, spring of 2023, during a hushed but hostile conflict dubbed the Mood Board War, the prize was a proposed Archewell x Chanel capsule collection that never saw the light of day. And rightfully so. What began as a round of casual talks rapidly morphed into a corporate showdown between one of the globe's most carefully protected luxury labels and a figure hell-bent on rewriting its heritage to fit her narrative. It went from dialogue to conflict fast. In May 2023, Meghan Markle and her Archewell business strategist, Vanessa Loren, contacted Chanel's American media team through an intermediary, Zara Carmichael, an ex-Goop rep. The proposal? A limited run, humanitarian collection, fusing Coco Chanel's history with Meghan's contemporary brand of female empowerment. Chanel's first reply was courteous but cool. Internal memos, pulled from a compromised public relations server, characterized the approach as pushy, entitled, and tone-deaf to the brand's hierarchy. Even with those warning signs, they set a sit-down for June 14, 2023, in New York, between Chanel's head of U.S. relations and Meghan's people. That session went down in history. Several witnesses verified that Meghan showed up with a deck called Reimagining Chanel from Exclusivity to Empathy. Her pitch points included, bullet point, swapping the iconic interlocking C's for a subtle aero-floral design on a silk accessory range, bullet point, kicking off the ads with real women instead of high-fashion models, featuring herself as the primary face and voice, bullet point, designing a series of sustainable purses named after female royals, including a bag dubbed the Diana. When Chanel's executives inquired if she had official clearance to use Princess Diana's name, Meghan allegedly shot back, "I am carrying her legacy. I do not need a permit to honor it." The leaked concept art. A week later, a digital board, reportedly built by Meghan's creative staff, hit the web. It featured vintage shots of Princess Diana in Chanel suits. Bullet point, black and white superimpositions of Meghan wearing matching looks. A slide labeled From Grief to Glamour. The Heirloom Collection. Our source claims that within Chanel's legal department in Paris, this leak set off a major ethics alarm. The issue was not simply the style, the insider clarified. It was the suggestion that Chanel's history could be used as a vehicle to overhaul someone else's story. That is not synergy. That is theft. Chanel's brass convened an emergency summit on June 26, 2023. And by July 1st, every channel to Archewell was severed. A do not engage directive went out to every regional office. The initiative was killed quietly, officially, but it got messy behind the scenes. The fallout. Reports suggest Meghan handled the refusal poorly. In emails, eventually, exposed by anonymous tipsters, she vented to a friend. They milked me for publicity, then slammed the door. But I will get bigger than them. I always do. By the end of 2024, Meghan stopped mentioning Chanel in the press. No more name-checking number 5. No more Chanel-esque looks at public events. Instead, she pivoted to Valentino, Carolina Herrera, and self-portrait brands seen as more open to celebrity sway. Yet, according to an ex-stylist who did a stint on Meghan's Netflix wardrobe, the wound went deeper. She became fixated on showing she did not need Chanel. But whenever she donned a French label, she would ask, "Does this look Parisian enough to send a message?" It was personal. Brand DNA versus personal brand. Industry experts note the Chanel-Meghan split represents a larger friction between heritage houses and star power. Chanel, much like Hermes or Rolex, deals in discretion, history, and restraint. Meghan's camp, however, moves with digital velocity, viral visibility, cause-based hype, and fast-paced marketing cycles. As a French executive put it, Meghan failed to grasp that Chanel does not exist to evolve through her. And in Paris, that distinction is everything. Exclusive report, Part 3. 12 Minutes of Silence. The Chanel Beverly Hills Face-Off. Published February 11th, 2026. Word count, 5,000 characters. Part 3. 12 Minutes of Silence. On a balmy afternoon, February 7th, 2026, the vibe on North Rodeo Drive was the standard mix of opulence and quiet until 3:41 p.m., when a surprise guest broke the peace. The strictest label in high fashion. Meghan Markle, arriving with her assistant Greta Yu and her stylist in training, Eliza Morrow, stepped out of a black Cadillac Escalade and headed for the main Chanel boutique in Beverly Hills, assuming she'd be welcomed. Instead, she faced a completely different reality, a firm corporate shutout right in the open. What ensued was 12 minutes of stunned silence recorded by the crowd, murmured about by those in the know, and currently exposed in complete detail for the very first time. The barred gates of heritage. Based on the time-stamped security records acquired from a private shop report, Meghan arrived at the door at 15:41 and 12 seconds. Two uniformed Chanel guards, Miguel R. and Sophie L., both longtime employees of the retail arm, moved ahead together. Sophie, positioned right at the entrance, recited the phrase she was drilled to use only for severe situations. "I apologize, ma'am. We have orders to deny entry." There was no shouting, no fight. Meghan blinked a single time and replied evenly, "I have an existing agreement with your worldwide director. Double-check it." Miguel kept a straight face. "Our system shows no active agreements. We have been informed that this is a multi-region policy." The words multi-region were deliberate. It indicated this was not just a local problem. It was worldwide and absolute. Onlookers claim Meghan stayed calm for the initial 60 seconds while dialing Harry. At 15:43 and 9 seconds, Meghan took out her cell and started walking back and forth just outside the velvet barrier. Based on accounts from staff at the neighboring Valentino and Fendi shops, she was obviously on the phone with Prince Harry, who was allegedly still at their Montecito. home when she called. She was overheard saying, "They are going to be sorry for this, get Bruno on the line." A witness noted she wasn't trying to be quiet about it. She wanted visibility. She wanted them to feel the heat. Per our contacts near the palace, Prince Harry, who had allegedly been informed of Chanel's private ban weeks earlier, begged her to depart right away, fearing a viral spectacle. His voice, picked up by a shopper's sound recording, was soft and desperate. "Meg, don't do this. Just go, please." Meghan refused. The private discussions happening while the drama unfolded outside. Inside the store, staff watched via a hidden camera feed. A worker who asked to remain nameless described the mood as stressful but prepared. "We got clear instructions last week. If she arrives, do not interact. Do not make it worse. Do not take pictures. Just hold your ground." This directive originated from the VP of Chanel Americas, who allegedly distributed an internal note on February 1, 2026, categorizing Meghan Markle as a Tier 1 non-engagement person. The wording left no doubt. She was unwelcome not only in Paris but globally. The situation escalated by 1547. Meghan changed her strategy. People saw her start filming herself, speaking into her device in a voice that swung between composure and staged outrage. At one moment, she pointed at the doors and stated, "This is the treatment for women who use their voice. They prefer silence over creativity." The video never went live, but sources claim it was instantly emailed to her PR guru, Andrea Fielding, titled, "Use this if we decide to go nuclear." Then, the most shocking part happened. Per Eliza Morrow, who talked to our journalist on the condition of secrecy, Meghan faced a small group of pedestrians and publicly called out a Chanel regional boss, blaming him for corporate harassment and lack of ethics. She didn't mind the audience, Eliza noted. Actually, she wanted to be heard. She thought this would force Chanel to lift the ban. It failed. At precisely 15:53 and 21 seconds, Prince Harry showed up unshaven, his baseball hat low and coat open. Onlookers mentioned he didn't seem mad, just exhausted. A store worker recalled, "It was like seeing a guy stepping into a storm he has survived 1,000 times." He walked up to Meghan, grabbed her elbow, and spoke only 5 words. "We need to go. Now." She resisted initially, then gave in. They departed silently. The shop entrance remained shut. That evening, at 9:12 p.m., a private Chanel Slack update went out to senior account managers globally. It stated, "If questioned, cite standard customer rules. No external comments. Our stance stands firm." Behind closed doors, other high-end brands were observing. By morning, Dior and Balenciaga had discreetly ordered their Los Angeles shops to double-check access levels. In the code of luxury retail, that meant verify if Meghan is on the approved list. If so, think about striking her off. The most lingering part of those 12 minutes isn't the fight. It is the quiet. No formal press release, no apologies made, no excuses required. In the realm of haute couture, where tact is stitched into the fabric, this wasn't merely a public incident. This wasn't just a slip-up. It was a full-blown banishment in broad daylight. You didn't hear the doors slam, you just felt them lock with absolute certainty. Exclusive Deep Dive, Part 4. When Paris walks away, the rest of the style industry gives you the cold shoulder. Regarding Meghan Markle. Published February 11, 2026. Word count at 5,000 characters. The hallways of Parisian haute couture are paved with secrets. But when they shut you out, the quiet is loud enough to burst eardrums. In the weeks after Meghan Markle got famously snubbed at the Chanel boutique in Beverly Hills, a silent, synchronized freeze-out moved through France's top fashion houses. From the showrooms on Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré to the marble suites looking out at Place Vendôme, the power players agreed on one thing: Meghan Markle is out. And in Paris, once they scrub your name from the list, there is no turning back. Based on exclusive info from a high-ranking industry source, a private sit-down happened on February 9th, 2026, hosted by a top official at the Comité Colbert, that elite club representing the crème de la crème of French luxury brands. Reps showed up from LVMH, the folks behind Dior, Givenchy, and Louis Vuitton and Kering Group, who own Balenciaga, Saint Laurent, and Bottega Veneta. Chanel was there too, still privately held by the Wertheimers, with Hermès and Celine sitting in as advisors. While they didn't publish official notes, a leaked recap of the summit lays out the main verdict. Until someone says otherwise, Meghan Markle gets wiped from every guest list, banned from showroom appointments, cut from press mailings, and blocked from influencer partnerships. They weren't writing with rage. It was cold and precise. The internal excuse? PR contamination, risk. Although Chanel made the first loud move, the other houses didn't hesitate to lock the gates. Dior, which allegedly thought about making Meghan a brand face, sent out a quiet order: do not send clothes, and do not talk to any agents representing her. Givenchy, the label behind her famous 2018 wedding dress, designed by the late Claire Waite Keller, wouldn't go on record, but an insider near the current design team admitted, "We are looking for fresh voices, not repeat drama." Balmain took it a step further. An interview scheduled between creative director Olivier Rousteing and Meghan for a digital feminism push was killed just days before the cameras rolled. The risk was too high. One exec noted, "The conversation always shifts to her, never the fashion." Even Jacquemus, famous for loving modern celebrity culture, reportedly shut it down, saying, "No, behind every seat at Fashion Week is a web of publicists, agents, and stylists deciding who gets the outfit, the chair, and the photo op." Meghan's name, once a golden ticket, has turned into a giant red flag. A major European stylist who worked with Meghan on her Vogue UK spread in 2019 told us on the down low, the second we drop her name to a brand, there is a pause, then dead air, then they change the subject. That is code for drop it. Paris Fashion Week, set for March 4th to 11th, 2026, dropped its preliminary invite list this week. Meghan is completely missing. Not in the front row, not backstage, and not in a single media slot. For a woman who used to sit next to Anna Wintour, it is a staggering drop. Despite the increasing chill, Meghan's team hasn't been silent in the background. Her PR firm, Elmire Strategies, has allegedly pitched at least 5 comeback angles to big fashion and lifestyle publications since February 8th. A makeup piece with Harper's Bazaar, an online cover with In Style about eco-friendly fashion, a guest spot on Stella McCartney's Creative Conversations podcast, a pitch for a photo shoot with Marie Claire UK focused on healing through couture, even a TED Talk idea called Reclaiming Creative Space as a Woman of Color. Every single one was rejected or ignored. As one editor at a big French mag put it, "We aren't judging her politics, we are judging her instability." She walks in, and suddenly it is about liability, not luxury. Unlike the American press, which walks on eggshells around the Markle storyline, the French press has gotten ruthless. Le Figaro's fashion column ran a headline, roughly translating to "Chanel's silence, more powerful than words." Gala magazine ran a story called Duchesse de la Mode, From Grace to the Gutter, the Fall of a Fashion Duchess. Even Vanity Fair France, which used to back her, wrote, "Madame Markle mistakes disruption for dominance." But couture does not. Bow to an ego. Fashion isn't just about being seen. It is about access. And that access opens doors to partnerships, endorsements, media backing, and long-term brand power. Without it, even the richest celebrities face cultural exile. One industry vet put it best. In this world, doors open without a sound, but when they close, they echo. Right now, every door in Paris is locked tight. And Meghan, once hailed as a global fashion disruptor, is now viewed as a cautionary tale. When Chanel's velvet ropes went up and Paris followed their lead, Meghan Markle didn't back down, quietly. According to multiple insiders, the Duchess of Sussex, famous for keeping a tight grip on her public image, didn't waste a second. She went straight to her legal team, fired off internal PR memos, and used subtle threats to claw back some relevancy, respect, and status in the fashion world. But this time, the old playbook hit a dead end. On February 8, 2026, just 24 hours after the tense standoff at Chanel in Beverly Hills, Meghan's veteran entertainment lawyer, Jonathan Y., set up an urgent call with heavy hitters from Levin and O'Donnell LLP, a powerhouse litigation firm out of New York. The objective was clear: figure out if they could slap Chanel with a defamation or discrimination lawsuit, claiming damaged reputation and lost business opportunities. We reviewed a leaked draft of the plan, and it shows. Meghan's camp was looking at these specific angles: tortious interference with commercial prospects, discriminatory, exclusion violating California's Unruh Civil Rights Act, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and unfair business practices citing the Paris Treaty framework. Inside the firm, they dubbed it Project Salvage. However, several legal experts, including a retired California Superior Court judge, brushed the draft off as purely emotional rather than evidence-based. You simply can't force a fashion house to keep a business relationship going. As one legal analyst put it, that's not discrimination, that's just discretion. By February 10th, the whole lawsuit idea was dead in the water. But Meghan wasn't done. Since the courts wouldn't work, she pivoted to a tactic she's relied on in the past: the strategic leak. At 11:17 a.m. Pacific Time on February 9th, an internal blast from Archewell's comms director, Nadia Campbell, went out to more than 40 contacts across the fashion, lifestyle, and progressive news landscapes. The subject line read, "An ongoing pattern: women of color in luxury spaces." The email, which our team reviewed, spun a narrative about systemic exclusion and unconscious bias. It brought up Meghan's history with the British tabloids, how she was treated during her exit from the royal family, and the hostility she's facing in fashion now. It didn't explicitly name Chanel, but the context made it obvious who she meant. The hit list included The Cut, Teen Vogue, Refinery 29, Elle, UK, and Birdie. Only one ran a supportive op-ed. Everyone else passed. Inside, Archewell. The silence was deafening. A staffer who quit on February 10th told us there was genuine panic in the office. Meghan wanted a movement, but we were losing the narrative. It felt like we were just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what stuck. We later got our hands on leaked WhatsApp messages from inside the team, showing Meghan ordering staff to get in front of the fallout. She wanted them to push the humanitarian angle and play the Diana card if necessary. One text said, "Remind them who I am. Remind them what I've survived." But the public wasn't buying it. From London to LA, PR analysts noticed the mood had shifted. Meghan's effort to spin the story was blowing up in her face. Instead of sympathy, people saw it as deflection. An anonymous brand consultant for a top European fashion house said, "This stopped being about fashion. It was about control." The public sensed it, and so did we. Even worse, PR agencies in New York and Paris started telling clients to steer clear of any campaign tied to Meghan, citing brand fatigue. In a Slack thread from a major NYC agency, a strategist didn't mince words. She doesn't move product, she moves headlines. But the biggest hit didn't come from Meghan's side, but from the industry itself. On the evening of February 10th, a private email from Bruno Pavlovsky, president of Chanel's fashion division, popped up on a restricted industry server called Modelx. Dated January 28, 2026, it read, "There are moments when silence protects the house more than a response. This is one of them." He went on, "We cannot be expected to absorb chaos just for celebrity. The decision regarding Miss Markle was strategic, not emotional. Her team will understand this eventually." That email spread like wildfire through the fashion world. For many, it confirmed what they had suspected all along. This wasn't just Meghan falling out of favor, it was the whole industry locking the gates. In just 1 week, Meghan went from threatening lawsuits to watching her credibility crumble on the very platforms she used to rule. Archewell's inbox was full of rejections. Podcast invites evaporated. Stylists backed out of potential deals. Fashion PR teams put her on do not book lists. She weaponized the narrative, a senior exec noted. But she forgot the golden rule. In fashion, if you force your way in, you'll always be dressed for the exit. A week after the Beverly Hills drama, Meghan Markle isn't fighting for front row access anymore. She's fighting to stay relevant. With Chanel's global blacklist in effect and legal retaliation off the table, with elite designers locking the gates, the Duchess is facing a harsh truth she hasn't encountered on this level before. Systemic exclusion. In the world of couture, that quiet rejection screams louder than words. Sources inside Netflix and Spotify claim the shockwaves from the Chanel disaster have spread way past the runways of Paris or Beverly Hills. Meghan's Archewell outfit was reportedly deep in negotiations to resurrect a documentary series focused on reframing the monarchy through style. That agreement is now, as a specific suit described it, completely toast. The cause? Image. Nobody wants to tie their logo to a figure whose clout feels messy or fake. A producer at Netflix clarified this went beyond the Chanel drama. It sparked a total audit of her social currency. We're seeing the same play at Spotify, where the project has since been put on ice for good. Several insiders verify that Meghan has started discreetly looking at moving abroad, eyeing spots like Canada, Australia, or Switzerland, while the official spin cites a hunt for better schooling or a nature-focused lifestyle. Inner circle whispers suggest the drive is much heavier and significantly more urgent. A resident in Montecito, chatting confidentially, painted the atmosphere at their estate as suffocating. Her social circle has evaporated. Guests don't drop by anymore. Phones just ring. Image consultants quit, replying to texts. Even the gala invites have dried up. It feels like the power players quietly agreed, without a fuss, to cut ties. Up north, Canadian sentiment regarding Meghan has flipped hard since 2020. Data from an internal poll, leaked by a Toronto agency, shows approval scores from female demographics aged 25 to 45 tanked by 43% just since January. The consensus? She preaches power but acts with privilege. The strategist pointed out a disconnect between the image she sells and the reality people witness. Strangely, as the style world locks up, a royal gate seems cracked open for Harry. Contacts inside the wider Windsor network verify that the prince is making quiet asks about getting back into the fold. This wouldn't mean resuming full-time senior duties, but more of a low-key return through private philanthropic work or heritage. engagements. But these talks depend entirely on one stipulation, allegedly passed down via Princess Anne and Lady Louise, Windsor. Meghan is out. There is no return ticket for the pair of them. A palace staffer stated bluntly, "The firm is open to Harry, provided he picks service over drama." By all reports, he's conflicted, yet buddies claim the Chanel mess shook him up unlike anything else. He witnessed what happens when the polite facade drops. Confidant of his revealed, and it scared him. The core of this whole drama holds a harsh reality. Meghan Markle's image just isn't selling anymore. Not in France, not in Tinseltown, and not even in the filtered sphere of social media deals where she used to dominate. The Archewell Foundation is suffering from donor burnout with 2 primary backers cutting checks since the end of January. Her lifestyle venture is stalled in manufacturing hell, with unsold stock from the Flop Jam collection said to be stuffing 2 leased lockers in Santa Barbara. Her staff has silently quit chasing style partnerships following 9 straight rejections. For the moment, Meghan stays in California, circled by a shrinking squad and fewer vocal defenders than ever. Her formerly dependable hype team in the press, such as Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey, haven't said a peep during this mess, nor have old partners like Serena Williams or Tyler Perry. Her game plan is a mystery. Some think she'll swing hard into a tell-all book or political activism. Others predict a silent exit from the spotlight, driven not by preference, but by lack of options. Yet insiders in the high-end sector claim the verdict is already etched in stone. In this industry, you don't get a do-over at this altitude. Once you're cut, there's no email, no sorry, and no press release that gets you back inside. On February 10th, a single photo made the rounds among style editors and top dressers. It depicted the Chanel flagship on Rue Cambon. Exterior peaceful, glass shining, gates shut. A small sign sat behind the pane. Asterisk entrée sur invitation asterisk. Entrance by invitation only. And in that quiet, Meghan Markle's era in couture came to a soft, permanent close.